Hello, good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Albert Ramirez. I am the Assistant Housing Director here in the Oxnard Housing Department. I will be presenting on today's item regarding Aspire Apartments and its request for a preliminary funding award letter and execution of implementation agreement in support of an affordable housing and sustainable communities program grant application. For background, Many Mansions is a nonprofit housing organization that provides affordable housing to households with low incomes by constructing new or acquiring and rehabilitating existing units in partnership with cities and counties. Since its founding over 40 years ago, Many Mansions has amassed a portfolio of over 600 units of affordable housing at 20 properties throughout Ventura County. One project worth noting is Central Terrace. Many Mansions is also the developer of Central Terrace, which is located at 217 and 235 East 6th Street in downtown Oxnard, just south of Aspire Apartments, the subject site. Central Terrace includes 86 affordable rental units, with 35 of the units set aside for homeless individuals. The project is currently under construction and opening in May of 2024. The project was awarded an Affordable Housing and Sustainable Communities Program grant to support the project's financing. The project under consideration here today is Aspire Apartments. In December 2022, Many Mansions purchased a 0.77 acre site at 538 Meta Street, just north of Central Terrace, for the development of Aspire Apartments, a multifamily affordable rental housing project that includes 87 affordable units plus one 2-bedroom manager unit. All the units will serve households earning between 30 and 60% of the area median income. Aspire Apartments has also been fully entitled and receiving those entitlements in June of 2022. A little bit about the project itself. This mixed-use project will include 5 stories of residential units above a podium with an elevator that includes approximately 4,500 square feet of office and commercial space, over 5,000 square feet of a private courtyard, and over 5,600 square foot public open space via paseo. In order to help support Aspire Apartments financing, the Housing Department recommends using home art funding. Here's a little background on the home art program. On September 20th of 2021, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development awarded the city of Oxnard $2.7 million in Home American Rescue Plan, also known as home art funding. Home ARP is a new funding source from the federal government for local and state governments to address homelessness and affordable housing needs streamlined through the Home Investment Partnership Program. From December of 2022 through February 2023, housing staff completed substantial community outreach to solicit feedback on how best to prioritize the use of home art funding. The overwhelming feedback received was to prioritize the creation of new permanent supportive housing. On March 21st, 2023, City Council approved the city's home art allocation plan, which directed staff to utilize its home art program funding to support the creation of new permanent supportive housing. Many Mansions is much like Central Terrace. Many Mansions would like to submit an ASIC program application to support Aspire Apartments. A little bit of background of what the ASIC program is it provides grants and or loans to achieve greenhouse gas emission reductions through increasing accessibility of affordable housing, employment centers, and key destinations via low carbon transportation, resulting in fewer miles traveled through shortened or reduced trip length or mode shift from single occupancy vehicle use to transit bicycling or walking. ASIC can fund up to $35 million in loan funds for the construction of affordable housing developments. The program can also fund up to $15 million in grant funds under the same application for housing-related infrastructure, sustainable transportation infrastructure, transit-related amenities, and programs. The city was asked by Many Mansions to participate in their ASIC application for their Aspire Apartments project. If awarded, the city would receive funding to complete city plan projects, including sustainable transportation infrastructure, transit amenities, and community programs. While a majority of the funding needed to complete the project is projected to come from federal and state resources, assistance is needed from the city to close the remaining financial gap. To address the gap, the Housing Department requests awarding $1.2 million in home art to Many Mansions to support Aspire apartments. If Many Mansions is able to secure all of the private and public funding listed above in their first attempt, then Many Mansions would begin construction in June 2025 and complete construction in June of 2026. By providing this amount in home ARP, Aspire Apartments must provide 5 one-bedroom permanent supportive housing units for homeless households with annual incomes at or below 30% of the area median income. All 5 units will carry a 20-year affordability restriction. Here's a little bit more information regarding the city's participation in the ASIC application with Many Mansions. City staff has coordinated with Many Mansions, Gold Coast Transit District, and various community partners to identify eligible high-impact sustainable transportation improvements, transit-related amenities, and community-serving programs. Listed in the table are the eligible projects that have been identified and will be included in Many Mansions' ASIC application. As you see to the table on the table to the right, there are multiple projects that are being supported under the ASIC application. But you will notice that there are 2 projects particularly that are being supported by the city. One are grant fund going to public works for various infrastructure improvements in the downtown area and the surrounding community. Also, there's a project to support the housing department and its community outreach efforts to support the city of Oxnard's rent stabilization and just cause ordinances. In order to memorialize the partnership with Many Mansions for the ASIC grant application, staff recommends that the city execute an implementation agreement with Many Mansions for the completion of the city-led infrastructure, transit-related amenities, and programs described in the previous table. Below are more bullet points with respect to the terms of that agreement. Many Mansions will be the sole applicant and will receive all grant funds. If awarded grant funds, up to $5.2 million will be transferred to the city. The city will automatically terminate if the agreement will automatically terminate if Many Mansions does not receive an award. If grant funding is awarded in an amount less than requested, or if the final cost for design or construction increases at the time of bid award, the city will be responsible for funding cost overages. If grant funding is awarded in an amount less than requested, the city will also have the discretion to reject the grant funds and its commitment to the sustainable transportation infrastructure and transit-related amenity improvement projects. If the city accepts the grant funds, the city would have until August of 2029 to disperse all funds. Approval of the recommended actions will authorize an appropriation and commitment of $1.2 million from the city's home art program funding to award a gap financing loan to Many Mansions for the development of Aspire apartments. There is no immediate impact to the approval of the ASIC implementation agreement between the city and Many Mansions. However, the ASIC program grant funds are dispersed on a reimbursement basis. If Many Mansions is awarded ASIC grant funds, city staff may need to return to council to identify the initial funding source and recognize appropriate funds for the city to complete the improvements and programs on a reimbursable basis. The recommendation before you is that the city council authorize the mayor or his designee to execute a preliminary funding award letter with Many Mansions and a nonprofit affordable housing provider, a gap financing loan in the amount of $1.2 million for the construction of Aspire apartments. It's also recommended that the city council authorize the mayor or his designee to execute an implementation agreement with Many Mansions to receive pass-through grant funding associated with the Aspire Apartments Affordable Housing and Sustainable Community Program application. Thank you, and that concludes my presentation.